Imagine for a second, right, that you're just walking around wearing these glasses that are completely, totally splattered with mud.
Oh, man. So you literally can't see anything clearly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, everything just seems filthy. You look at your job, it's dirty.
Right, it's covered in mud.
Yeah. You look at your relationships, they're a total mess, and you start blaming the whole world for being this huge disaster zone.
Because that's what you're seeing. But, the entire time, the problem is sitting right there on your own face.
Yes. You think the world is broken, but the mud is actually on your lenses. And, well, that psychological blind spot is exactly what we're dissecting today in this deep dive.
It's such a great analogy for what we're getting into.
Right. We're exploring this really famous excerpt from the legendary motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. Specifically, this piece called The Cure for Stinking Thinking.
Which is just a classic Ziglar title, by the way.
It totally is. And our mission today is to examine this fascinating, honestly kind of aggressive philosophy that attitude makes literally all the difference.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how radically shifting your perspective might actually, completely rewrite your reality.
Exactly.
And it is a really profound concept. I mean, the premise, change your attitude, change your life. It can sound a bit like a cheap bumper sticker on the surface.
Yeah, a little cliche, maybe.
Right. But the source material we're looking at today, it actually breaks down a very specific, deeply actionable framework.
It's not just fluff.
Not at all. It's rooted in the psychology of gratitude, cognitive reframing, and, well, neurobiology.
Wow.
Yeah, we're examining a concrete method to fundamentally rewire negative self-talk. And it raises this wild question about how much of our external misery is entirely self-generated.
That is a heavy question. And we're anchoring this whole exploration around one incredible story.
Oh, the Birmingham story. It's so good.
It really is. It focuses on this woman from Birmingham, Alabama, who went from being the absolute, ultimate, undeniable fault finder to what Ziglar calls a good finder.
Right, and completely transforming a job situation she swore was just beyond saving.
Which, leads me to the big question today. I mean, is it really possible to fix an external, seemingly impossible problem just by changing the input in our own minds?
Well, if we look at the broader mechanics of human psychology, the answer is a resounding yes.
Really?
Yeah. But to understand how the cure actually works, we first have to really thoroughly diagnose the disease. And the setup of Ziglar's story just illustrates this perfectly.
Right, so let's look at the situation he walked into. So Ziglar is backstage at a speaking event in Birmingham.
Okay.
And he has this incredibly tight schedule, right? Like maybe 10 minutes to spare before he goes on stage.
It was stressful enough as it is.
Exactly. And his executive assistant, Elle Majors, calls him and says, there's a lady who insists she has an impossible problem.
But Majors actually believes Ziglar can help her in just those few minutes.
Yeah, which is crazy. But Ziglar agrees to see her. So the woman walks across the stage to meet him, and he notes that he has never seen so much anger radiating from a human being in his entire life. Yeah, she is practically in tears from the sheer rage of it all.
She is just the absolute embodiment of what he refers to as negative nails.
Negative nails, yeah.
She hates her job. She hates everything about the job. She hates every single person down at the office.
She just sounds exhausting.
She is a walking storm cloud.
Yeah.
Just entirely consumed by her own hostility.
So she immediately demands, can you help me? But before we get to his rather shocking response, there's a crucial thematic thread here we need to pull on.
Definitely.
Ziglar brings up this observation he's gathered from professionals in psychology, psychiatry, and the ministry. He claims that people who come to you with a problem aren't necessarily looking for a solution.
Right. And this is a really critical insight into human behavior.
I thought so too.
It's a dynamic you see in almost every company, every family, every social group. There's usually that one individual who fundamentally thrives on the grievance itself.
Like they just enjoy being mad.
Exactly. The text explicitly notes that these individuals want the attention that goes with griping and complaining. They want to tell you about it and then tell the next person and the next. If you were to magically solve the problem for them, they'd actually be upset.
Because they'd lose the ability to complain.
Exactly. The complaint has literally become their identity.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Isn't venting sometimes just a normal, healthy way to blow off steam? I mean, we all have bad days at work.
We do.
So why does the text frame it so definitively as just wanting the attention of the problem? Doesn't everyone just need to let it out sometimes?
Well, it's a very fair distinction to make, but there's a massive psychological difference between venting, and chronically residing in a state of victimhood.
Okay, how so?
Venting is a temporary pressure release valve, right? You vent so you can return to your baseline emotional state
Right.
and then go tackle the issue.
Right, like blowing off steam so the kettle doesn't explode.
Exactly. But the behavior described here isn't about releasing pressure to reach a solution. It's about maintaining the problem to secure continuous validation.
Oh, wow. So they don't want the fix.
No. From an evolutionary psychology standpoint, complaining is a very low-effort way to get sympathy and social bonding without the caloric output of actually doing the hard work to fix the issue.
That makes total sense. So if she actually wanted the problem solved, she wouldn't be indiscriminately projecting her anger at everyone.
Right, and the key identifier of this quote-unquote disease is complete denial. The text highlights that people who are the source of the problem almost never recognize that they are the problem.
As the old joke goes, denial is just a river in Egypt.
Exactly. They're completely convinced they're the innocent protagonist and everyone else is the villain.
Okay, so back to the story. Ziglar has 10 minutes with this incredibly toxic, angry woman. He doesn't sit down and validate her feelings.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't offer a shoulder to cry on. Instead, he firmly tells her that her problem is about to get much worse.
Which is such a bold move.
Right. He looks her right in the eye and says, I believe they are going to fire you.
And the reaction is instantaneous. She is just stunned.
The text compares it to being hit in the face with a bucket of ice water.
She becomes completely indignant.
Right.
She asks why on earth they would fire her when they are the bad guys.
It is a massive gamble on his part. I mean, he's basically pouring gasoline on the fire. He tells her, I don't believe there's a company in America big enough to contain this much poison in one small spot.
That is harsh.
So why would a shock tactic like that work on someone who's already furious?
Because it forces an immediate, violent recalibration of value. He's triggering a psychological concept known as loss aversion.
Loss aversion. Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, have you ever noticed that when someone is relentlessly complaining about something, maybe a beat-up car, a tiny apartment, or a frustrating job, the moment the threat of losing that thing becomes real, it suddenly takes on brand new value?
Oh, definitely. Suddenly it's like, wait, I need that job.
Exactly. By threatening her with termination, he strips away the secondary gain she was getting from complaining. He completely removes the comfort of her victimhood and confronts her with the very real, terrifying consequence of her own toxicity.
So the threat of loss makes her finally drop the act. She stops raging and asks for real help, saying she'll try anything within reason.
And that's when he introduces step one.
Yes, step one. He tells her to go home that night, wait until all her chores are done, get into a room completely by herself, take out a piece of paper, and write at the very top, I like my job because.
And predictably, she immediately resists the exercise.
Of course she does.
She interrupts him to say she likes absolutely nothing about the job or the people.
She's just fighting so hard to hold on to her misery. He has to practically walk her into a corner. He asks, just out of curiosity, if she works there for benevolent reasons or if they actually pay her.
And she begrudgingly admits they pay her.
Right. And he asks if she likes being paid. She admits, yes, she does. So he tells her to open her notebook right then and there and start the list with the fact that they pay her.
And she just stands there. She completely freezes.
Yeah, why do you think she did that?
That hesitation is incredibly revealing. It's the crucible moment for her.
Okay.
She has to choose between her comfortable, familiar misery and the highly uncomfortable work of changing her mind.
Wow. Yeah.
And Ziglar issues a stark ultimatum right there.
Yeah.
He tells her that in 100% of cases, with zero exceptions, people who won't take step one never take step two.
This reminds me exactly of a personal trainer.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. You can go out and hire the most expensive elite fitness coach in the world. You can buy all the best gear, show up at the gym, and just stand there.
But the trainer cannot lift the weights for you.
Exactly. They can give you the perfect routine, but if you refuse to physically pick up the dumbbell, nothing happens.
Right.
She came to him with this impossible dream that a famous motivational speaker would just wave a magic wand, fix her coworkers, and she'd live happily ever after without doing any heavy lifting herself.
Exactly right. The expert can provide the framework, but the individual must execute the reps. He tells her straight up, I can't solve your problems. He forces the responsibility entirely back onto her shoulders.
He makes her own it.
He tells her that unless she is willing to take step one right in that moment, He is willing to walk away.
And that boundary is what finally breaks through. She angrily opens her notebook. And this is where the data gets just fascinating.
It really does.
This woman, who just minutes ago claimed to hate absolutely everything about her job, sits down and manages to find exactly 22 things she likes about it.
22 distinct items. And when you look at the specifics of what she actually uncovers, it's quite staggering how much she was taking for granted just to maintain her narrative.
Oh, let's run through some of the details from the text because it's a massive list of perks.
Let's hear it.
She discovers she's paid above average. She gets 3 weeks of paid vacation.
Wow.
She has a retirement program, profit sharing, health insurance, life insurance, and accident insurance.
All of that.
Oh, and her commute is less than 10 minutes from home. She actually has input on management decisions. The company pays for her to attend 3 professional seminars a year.
That's incredible.
She has her own private office. She even has her own dedicated parking plate. I mean, how does someone have all of that and still claim they hate everything?
It all comes down to the mechanics of cognitive bias.
Okay, break that down for us.
When a person is locked into a negative mindset, their brain actively filters out positive data.
It just ignores it.
Yeah, because the human brain hates cognitive dissonance. It wants consistency.
Ah, that makes sense.
If her core identity is, I'm a victim of a terrible workplace, acknowledging 3 weeks of paid vacation contradicts that identity. So the brain simply ignores it.
That is wild.
By forcing her to write this list, Ziglar interrupts that neurological filtering process. He forces her conscious mind to reckon with objective, positive data that she had been actively suppressing.
Okay, but knowing the data is one thing, right? Having a list on a piece of paper is just ink on a page. I know plenty of people who intellectually understand they have a good job, but they still dread going in every Monday. How does a grocery list of job perks actually change a person's behavior?
That is precisely why the list is only step 1.
Okay.
The list is just the raw data collection. The actual cure for stinking thinking, the mechanism of change, is the application of that data. That brings us to the mirror exercise.
Okay, the mirror exercise. So Zig instructs her to go into a room alone, shut the door, and look at the list.
Yep.
But she has to change the opening phrase. She changes, I like my job, to I love my job.
A subtle but huge difference.
Huge. Then she has to look herself right in the eye in the mirror because, as he notes, the eyes are the windows of the soul.
Right.
And with excitement and enthusiasm, she has to say out loud, I love my job because they pay me above average. And she has to do this before reading every single item on the list.
Furthermore, she has to commit to this routine strictly. Every night before bed and every morning before she leaves for work.
Every single day.
Plus, she needs to take the list with her to the office so she can continuously look for new things to add to it.
Okay, but standing in your bathroom, making eye contact with yourself, and enthusiastically declaring love for a job you've been complaining about for years, it feels completely absurd.
It feels very silly at first, yeah.
It feels forced. Why the mirror? Why the forced enthusiasm? What is actually happening in the body here?
To understand the why, we have to look at the underlying physiological mechanisms at play. The source text brings in a highly significant reference here. Hans Selye.
Oh yeah, Hans Selye.
Selye was a pioneering endocrinologist, widely recognized as the #1 stress specialist in America at the time. Selye's research identified that of all the human emotions, gratitude is the absolute healthiest.
So when she's saying, I like or I love, she is actively expressing gratitude.
Yes, which triggers a biological response. This isn't just a mental exercise, it's a biological intervention.
That is fascinating.
Let's break down the nervous system for a second. Chronic anger and complaining keep the body in a constant state of sympathetic arousal.
That's your fight or flight response, right?
Exactly. Your brain thinks you're under attack, so
Ugh.
it pumps the body full of cortisol and adrenaline. It is exhausting.
Yeah, living like that will burn you out.
But gratitude activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. It actively reduces those stress hormones.
So it physically calms you down.
Right. When she does this exercise right before bed, she shifts her biology out of a stress response, which is why Ziglar promises she will sleep better that very first night.
So she is physically rewiring her brain. The text actually points out that she is transitioning from being a fault finder to a good finder.
Yes.
Because there really are people who navigate the world finding fault as if there's like a cash reward for it at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. And by taking the list with her to work and actively looking for new things to add, she's training a specific part of her brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS.
Okay, what does the RAS do?
You can think of the RAS as the brain's bouncer. Millions of pieces of sensory data hit us every second, and the RAS decides which pieces get through the VI key door to your conscious awareness.
Ah, I love that analogy.
For years, her bouncer was instructed to only let in negative information. By searching for things to add to her gratitude list, she is giving the bouncer a brand new set of instructions.
Look for the good.
Look for the good. But, all this biological and psychological theory doesn't mean much if it falls apart in the real world.
That's true.
What actually happens when she walks back into that allegedly toxic office? Let's look at what happens 6 weeks later. Ziglar is back in Birmingham doing a follow-up sales seminar.
And guess who is sitting right there in the front row?
Our lady. But she is entirely unrecognizable from the woman backstage.
Totally, completely different vibe.
Zig notes she's grinning so wide she could have eaten a banana sideways.
I love that phrase.
It's so descriptive. She's turned on. She is excited. When he asks how she's doing, she doesn't just say fine. She says she's doing wonderfully well. But the absolute kicker, the quote that brings this whole philosophy home, is what she leans in and says next.
Yes. She says, Mr. Ziglar, you cannot believe how much those people down there have changed.
Which is just the most beautiful, profound irony of the entire story.
Right. Because they didn't change at all. Not a single person in that office changed.
She changed.
It perfectly illustrates the central thesis. You cannot change anybody else until you change yourself. Everything begins with you.
And this brings us to a really critical revelation in the text about why she was at a sales seminar in the first place. I mean, considering she wasn't actually a salesperson.
Why was she even there?
She had been listening to Ziglar's tapes in her car, enrolled in what he calls Automobile University.
Automobile University.
Yeah. And through that constant positive input, she realized a fundamental truth. Everybody is in sales.
Oh, absolutely. Whether you're a teacher, military personnel, a secretary, or a civil service worker, you are selling every single day of your life. You're selling your ideas, your competence, and your attitude to the people around you.
But the real reason she needed that constant, relentless positive input, the audio tapes, the mirror exercise, the gratitude list, was because of the heartbreaking root cause of her negativity.
Yeah, this part of the source material was really heavy.
It was. The text pulls back the curtain on her past. This wasn't just a woman who randomly decided to be miserable at work. She had been raised in a profoundly toxic environment.
Right. The source explains that her parents had constantly told her she would never amount to anything.
Just awful.
They called her late, they called her sloppy, they constantly compared her to her siblings. They planted these incredibly toxic seeds of self-doubt very early on.
And it didn't stop in childhood either.
No.
When she got married, her husband continued that exact same pattern of emotional abuse.
Jeez.
So her internal self-talk, the loop playing constantly in her head, was completely negative. Her internal monologue was literally, like Dad said, I'll never amount to anything, or like my husband says, I can't do anything right.
Okay, I have to hit pause right here and challenge this.
Please do.
Because we are talking about genuine, long-term emotional abuse from her parents and her husband.
Yes.
If someone came to me with that history of severe trauma, and my advice to them was, go look in a bathroom mirror and say, you love your paid vacation, I would be heavily accused of toxic positivity.
That's a very common critique.
Or even gaslighting. I mean, how is this mere exercise not just pasting a superficial smiley face over a gaping psychological wound?
That is the most important distinction to make in this entire analysis. It is not toxic positivity, because toxic positivity is passive denial.
Passive denial. Okay, explain that.
Toxic positivity is telling someone who is bleeding to just look on the bright side, without offering a tourniquet.
Ah, I see.
What Ziglar offered was an active, aggressive behavioral intervention.
Okay, so how does a mirror exercise act as a tourniquet for trauma?
Because of neuroplasticity. Her trauma had created deep physical neural pathways in her brain that constantly broadcasted feelings of worthlessness.
Right, those voices were physically wired in.
Exactly. When she went into the office, she projected those deep-seated feelings of inadequacy onto her coworkers. It was a defense mechanism.
To protect yourself.
Yeah. If everyone else is terrible, then she doesn't have to face the agonizing feeling that she's worthless. She thought her coworkers were the problem, but she was really just replaying her parents' and husband's voices in the break room.
Wow. So the environment wasn't toxic? Her internal filter was toxic?
Exactly. You cannot simply tell someone with that much ingrained trauma to just be happy. You have to mechanically overwrite the programming.
Which takes work.
A lot of work. By aggressively changing the input, forcing the eye contact, generating the enthusiasm, repeating the gratitude list twice a day, and listening to tapes in the car, she slowly starved those negative neural pathways and nourished new ones.
That is amazing.
The radical changes in her external world only took place because she systematically dismantled the negative self-talk governing her internal world.
She essentially had to reparent herself in that bathroom mirror every morning and every night.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yes. She created a competing neural pathway that was finally stronger than the abuse. That is incredibly powerful.
It really is.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I want you to think about that one thing in your life right now that you find yourself constantly griping about.
We all have one.
We really do. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's a frustrating creative project or a specific relationship that just drains your energy.
Yeah.
Ask yourself the hard question. Are you secretly just enjoying the attention of the complaint? Are you getting some weird comfort from being the victim in that scenario?
It's tough to admit, but it happens.
Right. And what would happen if tonight you were forced to sit down in a quiet room, shut the door, and find 22 things you actually like about that exact situation?
It's a highly uncomfortable proposition.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a difficult, lingering question to consider moving forward.
Lay it on us.
If it is an absolute psychological truth that we cannot change anyone else until we first change ourselves, we have to look entirely inward. Does our constant daily criticism of the people around us, our coworkers, our family members, our society, actually have nothing to do with their flaws?
Oh, wow.
What if our outrage has everything to do with the unhealed negative voices we've allowed to loop endlessly in our own heads? What if the poison we're so convinced is out there in the world is actually just a reflection in our own mirror?
Man, it really makes you want to take off those mud-splattered glasses and finally clean the lenses, doesn't it?
It sure does.
The world might just look entirely different. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. Try the mirror exercise tonight, take step 1, and step into your tomorrow as a good finder. We'll catch you next time.